So, this is Bible Stories by Lincoln. My name is Lincoln, and I will be telling you about Bible stories from the Bible. Today, we are reading the story of David and Goliath. Personally, I think David is one of my favorite people in the Bible. No offense, he may be your least favorite, but I hope you'll get to like him at least a little bit after this video. So please leave a like or even subscribe to the channel. Thank you. 1 Samuel chapter 17. David and Goliath. The Philistines gathered their army for war. They came to Socoh in Judah. They set up a camp at Ephes-dammim. It was between Socoh and Azekah. Saul and the army of Israel gathered together. They camped in the valley of Elah. They lined up their men to fight against the Philistines. The Philistine army was camped on one hill. Israel's army was on another. The valley was between them. A mighty hero named Goliath came out of the Philistine camp. He was from Gath. He was more than 9 feet tall. He had a bronze helmet on his head. He wore a bronze armor that weighed 125 pounds. On his legs he wore bronze guards. He carried a bronze javelin on his back. His spear was as big as a weaver's rod. Its iron point weighed 15 pounds. The man who carried his shield walked along in front of him. Goliath stood there and shouted to the soldiers of Israel. He said, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? I am a Philistine, you are servants of Saul. Choose one of your men. Have him come down and face me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we'll become your slaves. But if I win and kill him, you will become our slaves and serve us." Goliath continued, "This day I dare the soldiers of Israel to send a man down to fight against me." Saul and the whole army of Israel heard what the Philistines said. They were terrified. David was the son of Jesse, who belonged to the tribe of Ephraim. Jesse was from Bethlehem in Judah. She had 8 sons. When Saul was king, Jesse was already very old. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul into battle. The oldest son was Eliab, the second was Abinadab, the third was Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 oldest sons followed Saul. But David went back and forth from Saul's camp to Bethlehem. He went to Bethlehem to take care of his father's sheep. Every morning and evening Goliath came forward and stood there. He did it for 40 days. Jesse said to his son David, "Get at least half a bushel of grain that has been cooked. Also get 10 loaves of bread. Take all of it to your brothers. Hurry to their camp. Take along these 10 chunks of cheese to the commander of their military group. Find out how your brothers are doing. Bring me back some word about them. They are with Saul and the men of Israel. They are in the valley of Elah. They are fighting against the Philistines." Early in the morning, David left his father's flock in the care of a shepherd. David loaded the food and started out, just as Jesse had directed. David reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions. The soldiers were shouting the war cry. The Israelites and the Philistines were lining up their armies for battle. The armies were facing each other. David left what he had brought with the men who took care of the supplies. He ran to the battle lines and asked his brothers how they were. As David was talking with them, Goliath stepped forward from his line. Goliath was a mighty Philistine hero from Gath. He again dared someone to fight him, and David heard it. Whenever Israel's army saw Goliath, all of them ran away from him. That's because they were so afraid. The Israelites had been saying, "Just look at how this man keeps daring Israel to fight him. The king will make the man who kills Goliath very wealthy. The king will also give him his own daughter to be that man's wife. The king won't require anyone in the man's family to pay any taxes in Israel." David spoke to the man standing near him. He asked, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine? Goliath is bringing shame on Israel. What will be done for the one who removes it? This Philistine isn't even circumcised. He dares the army of the living God to fight him. Who does he think he is?" The men told David that Israel's soldiers had been saying. The men told him what would be done for the man who killed Goliath. That's pretty cool. I'm just saying, it's pretty cool. Now, next verse. Verse 28. Yes, "We are already there, surprisingly." David's oldest brother Eliab heard him speaking with the men. So Eliab became very angry with him. Eliab asked David, "Why have you come down here? Who is taking care of those few sheep in the desert for you? I know how proud you are. I know how evil your heart is. The only reason you came down here was to watch the battle." "What have I done now?" said David. "Can't I even speak?" Then he turned away to speak to some other men. He asked them the same question he had asked before, and they gave him the same answer. Everyone heard what David said and reported it to Saul. So Saul sent for David. David said to Saul, "Don't let anyone lose hope because of that Philistine. I'll go out and fight him." Saul replied, "You aren't able to go out there and fight that Philistine. You are too young. He has been a warrior ever since he was a boy." But David said to Saul, "I've been taking care of my father's sheep. Sometimes a bear or a lion would come and carry off a sheep from the flock. Then I would go after it and hit it. I would save the sheep it was carrying it in its mouth, and if it turned around to attack me, I would grab its hair. I would strike it down and kill it. In fact, I've killed both a lion and a bear. I'll do the same thing to this Philistine. He isn't even circumcised. Has dared the armies of the living God to fight him. The Lord has saved me from the paw of a lion. He saved me from the paw of a bear, and he'll save me from the powerful hand of this Philistine too." Saul said to David, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." Then Saul dressed David in his own military clothes. He put a coat of armor on him. He put a bronze helmet over his head. David put on Saul's sword over his clothes. He walked around for a little while in all that armor because he wasn't used to it. "I can't go out there in all this armor," he said to Saul. "I'm not used to it." So he took it off. Then David picked up his wooden staff. He went down to a stream and chose 5 smooth stones. He put them in the pocket of his shepherd's bag. Then he took his sling in his hand and approached Goliath. At that same time, the Philistine kept coming closer to David. The man carrying Goliath's shield walked along in front of him. Goliath looked David over. He saw how young he was. He saw how healthy and handsome he was, and he hated him. He said to David, "Why are you coming at me with sticks? Do you think I'm only a dog?" The Philistine cursed David in the name of his gods. "Come over here," he said. "I'll feed your body to the birds and the wild animals." David said to Goliath, "You are coming to fight against me with a sword, a spear, and a javelin, but I'm coming against you in the name of the Lord who rules over all. He is the God of the armies of Israel. He's the one you have dared to fight against. This day the Lord will give me victory over you. I'll strike you down. I'll cut off your head. This day I'll feed the bodies of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals. Then the whole world will know there is a God in Israel. The Lord doesn't rescue people by using a sword or a spear, and everyone here will know it. The battle belongs to the Lord. He will hand all of you over to us." As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly to the battle line to meet him. He reached down into his bag, took out a stone. He put it in his sling. He slung it at David. The stone hit him on the forehead and sank into it. He fell to the ground on his face. That's amazing. So David won the fight against Goliath with a sling and a stone. He struck down the Philistine and killed him. He did it without even using a sword. David ran and stood over him. He picked up Goliath's sword and cut off his head with it. The Philistines saw that their hero was dead, so they turned around and ran away. Then the men of Israel and Judah shouted and rushed forward. They chased the Philistines to the entrance of Gath. They chased them to the gates of Ekron. The bodies of dead Philistines were scattered all along the road to Gath and Ekron. That's the road that leads to Shaaraim. Israel's army returned from chasing the Philistines. They had taken everything from the Philistine camp. David picked up Goliath's head. He brought it to Jerusalem. He put Goliath's weapons in his own tent. Saul had been watching David as he went out to meet the Philistine. He spoke to Abner, the commander of the army. Saul said to him, "Abner, whose son is that young man?" Abner replied, "Your Majesty, I don't know, and that's just as sure as you are alive." The king said, "Find out whose son that young man is." After David killed Goliath, he returned to the camp. Then Abner brought him to Saul. David was still carrying Goliath's head. "Young man, whose son are you?" Saul asked him. David said, "I'm the son of Jesse from Bethlehem." And so that is the end of the story of David and Goliath. And if you are just joining the video right now, let me give you a quick retake. Okay? Also, I'm so excited to be doing this. This is my first video, and I'm so excited. If you have made a YouTube video before, and you remember making your first video, I'm sure it was pretty exciting. I know I am excited right now. Okay. David versus Goliath. Retell the story. Part 1. Goliath shows himself to Israel and dares them to send a soldier to fight him. Meanwhile, David was tending his flock when his mother said he needed to take some food to his older brothers on the battlefield. Part 2. When David arrives, he hears Goliath and goes to the king. David asks if he can battle Goliath. At first, the king says no. Then David tells the king stories of how he killed a lion and a bear. When the king hears this, he says yes. Part 3. David walks towards Goliath with 5 flat stones and his slingshot. Goliath took his spear and threw it at David. David dodged it. Goliath charged at David with his sword, and David charged with his slingshot. David shot a stone at Goliath. If it hit his forehead and he fell over dead. David took Goliath's sword and cut off his head. Israel won. This is the problem, or the challenge. Goliath challenged Israel to fight against him, and then God's answer, or response. God sent David to strike down Goliath. And then what I learned, where there's lots of different things to learn in this story, but let me tell you what I wrote down. What I learned that God can choose you to do something great, even at a young age. So this is Lincoln, Bible Stories by Lincoln, episode 1. Please leave a like or even subscribe to the channel if you can. And just let me tell you, so if you like this video, if I find that there are at least about, I don't know, 100 likes for this video, I'll make lots more. So tell me you like this video by leaving a like. This has been Bible Stories by Lincoln. I hope you liked this video. Goodbye, and have a nice day.